Hi, hope you're having a great day. I'm Dave and I help business leaders to use IT more effectively. Architects. If you're in an architecture firm, we look after a few architects. There's a few things that seem to come up time and time again. So I just want to today talk about those. If you're not an architect, well, a lot of these things still apply, but these are specific things for architects. So architects face a number of specific challenges. Number one, boom and bust of architecture project. So it's very difficult. You get this big project in, you grow the team, and then that happens for maybe a year, 18 months, and then the project gets done and then slides because there's no link between marketing and taking on big and small projects. So you do need to think quite hard about how you're managing that cyclic process in the business. It seems to be a particular problem for architects. And this can lead to a second problem because if you're in a boom and bust cycle, often the money comes a little bit later in the business process. What I sometimes see happening is that people have hired a team, but they've got really under-spec'd computers, so they can't do their job effectively. And obviously, if you're designing stuff, you need quite a powerful computer. So part of your planning and budgeting needs to be to make sure you've got the money at the beginning of the project, and this can be in the project proposal, to pay for the kit so that people can do it. I know it seems really obvious, but it seems to get overlooked somehow. And we end up with a situation where people are running on really old machines because they were used on the last project and the project before, but they're just not good enough for what's needed for this project. And obviously, if you're doing a big project and there's lots of complexity, lots of different design work, it's going to need even more powerful machines. I've got clients that spend days rendering stuff because it's just so complicated. There's a brilliant project one of my clients did in China, and it's this amazing town basically they designed. To get that to render was incredibly difficult. And obviously, we've been looking at online server farms now for rendering. At the moment, it's cheaper to buy the hardware, but I'm sure that will swap over. But obviously, the advantage is if you've got one-off big projects, you can buy in the service and rendering farm. You can even do it on virtual desktops. My experience is it definitely works, but it's more expensive than buying the hardware, which is unfortunate. So if you are in the situation where you've got very little cash, but you need to get decent powerful machines, then we can do it with virtual machines, or we can look at leasing. Next, very soon now, AI, artificial intelligence, have an enormous impact on architecture. So imagine there's a planning meeting and you go there and you press a button and it goes, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And you could cycle through 50 different designs. Everyone could go, well, I like that design, I like that design, because a great architecture, as we all know, should look like it's always been there. My point here is that good architecture should look like it's always been there, whether it's cutting edge or generic. AI is going to affect things like calculations for steels, for working out light, all sorts of things. So the building will do a lot more of the design work. But obviously, a human's going to have to check this for a very long time. So don't imagine for 1 minute you'll press a button, it'll design a building, there you go, done. As a physicist, I get that, and it's very important. If you're starting to use clever technology to design stuff, make sure that you're not pushing the limits of what the model wants it to do, because if you do, you may find the maths work in real life. Anyway, let's focus on the IT. So artificial intelligence is going to have a huge impact on your work, and also when it comes to modular systems and designing something new, I think it's going to be really, really exciting, and we're going to see some really interesting, really great buildings that are really great to work in by using AI and humans combined. There's all sorts of stuff happening, 3D printing, new technologies, we've got green energy, loads of stuff. Anyway, I digress. Let's focus on the IT. I get excited about architecture sometimes when it's good. So one of the other things that happens with project life cycles is you get your big project and it's in planning and and there's lots of documents toing and froing and your email's filling up with stuff, and then nothing happens for 3 years, and then the planning gets approved, and then all of a sudden you need to find all these documents that you created 3 years ago. And this is where much better document management comes in. My advice is, if you're on the Microsoft ecosystem, you start using Microsoft Teams. The way that works is every project you get, you give a project number, which you're probably doing already, and then you create a team for that project. And everything relating to that particular project goes in that team. What this means is all the documents, all the planning documents, all the different drawings, they all sit within SharePoint within that team. So when you want to search for something, you can find it easily. Things don't get lost because they're all within that team ecosystem. But what's super important, when artificial intelligence in the next few months starts to be able to generate documents based on the project, you need to have all of the project stuff in one place. The traditional way of doing it is where you have a file server, you dump your stuff there, that actually most of it's probably in your emails. That's not the way to do it. We want one copy of each file, as much as we can, in SharePoint, which you can then share with those people that need access. With drawing versions, there are tools that help you manage that, but actually for a small practice, SharePoint's more than sufficient, and that would enable you to create a mini practice management application. And if you need something more powerful, there are obviously tools out there that will do it. And I think when it comes to risk, the big risk with architecture is you do something that's too complicated and either can't be built or doesn't work and need lots of rework. And I think over the next few years, we're going to see the successful architecture firms, like you trained as an architect to do something interesting. So same as my passion with technology. So good architecture should come out of having a good organized process. If you're kind of an artistic person, that may not be first on your mind, but if you create these systems, get them set up properly, it's much easier to scale this stuff up. You're much less likely to run into problems. And those problems are lost documents, rework because of engineering things, multiple different versions of drawings where people, the groundworks people use one drawing, whether the bricklayers use another drawing. We know these things happen, but you can really simplify this process by having a structure. And technology can help with that, but you have to take on board that technology is a tool to get the job done. So I hope that's useful. If you want to know more about what I'm doing with my architects, or want to talk to me about how I help architects to manage strategic IT, do get in touch. If you've got any thoughts, comments, let me know in the comments below. And yes, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Speak soon.